And now it's time for Make It Happen with David Lorms. He is an award-winning insurance expert, best-selling author, and business owner talking about how to make your life, your career, and business better. Here's David.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. We're laughing at the intro.
I'm sorry,
there.
Who is that?
Yes. Welcome, everybody, to Make It Happen with David Lorms. I've got the very funny Randall Jobe here today.
Let's hope. Really, get a tuna sandwich and get ready.
We have been laughing already, and before we kind of started talking about your story, we were laughing about how some people now at your age will think that on the phone you're a ma'am.
And what age is that, David? Just call it out, would you? Yeah, it's an odd thing. In my early 20s, I was always called ma'am, and I went through about 3 decades, and now it's all started up again. But now I'm sure they think I'm bourbon drinking, smoking. Hey there, can I get my prescription?
Well, for people that may not have known you, of course, you're very famous in the Houston gay community.
Infamous, let's say.
Infamous, and in the theater district, but you're also a native from the Lake Jackson, Clute area. Is that correct?
Clute. Lake Jackson didn't claim me in those days, but now they're unpopular.
That was the popular city.
That's right. You were the rich kids, and you know it, David.
Well,
I was the other side of the tracks.
But so what high school did you go to?
Brazos Wood.
Okay, so you got to mingle with the good ones.
That's absolutely right. Yes, we were cleaning up after you.
Y'all were the custodians.
I was actually I am proud of the fact that I was the first class that began and did all 4 years there at Brazos Wood. We were the first class.
First class.
We were sexy. We were free. We're the class of 73.
Oh, was that
18?
Did you come up with that?
I don't think that was original. That was not my own. But yeah, that was one of our little mantras at the time.
Yes, and did you have any dating experiences while you were in high school?
What? Girls or boys? Oh, teasing. Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a mutual friend who's probably listening in today when she should be working.
Yes.
Our dear friend Sally, who was one of my girlfriends in high school, who claims she taught me to kiss. Okay, let's just put it out there. Wasn't you, Sally. Sorry. But thanks, Jeff.
By the way, if you have questions, you can tweet them at DavidL2490. If you just,
don't ask if he's gay.
Dispute.
Just no gay questions, please.
So, but didn't Sally have a good relationship with your mother?
My mother hated her. No. Actually, she was always referred to as that little Sally Adams who ran over my Century plant.
Why is that?
Well, one night we were making out in the driveway, and my parents came home, and in trying to get out of the driveway, Sally crushed a Century plant that had been there for about a century. And so my mother never forgot. 40 years later, she was still telling that story.
Forever. And then so after high school, you went to Brazosport College as a junior college there, right?
It is. I went there for 2 years and honed my skills in the theatrical world.
So you took drama in high school too, right?
I did. I was in drama in high school and continued on in college and community theater, our Brazosport Music Theater and Brazosport Little Theater.
Yes.
I was part of all of that, playing roles that I could never have played on the professional stage.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I was 275 pounds. So, Annie, I only got to play it once. And
were you Annie?
Really, David? Really?
I'm just asking.
I'm sorry. Is your first show? No, but I did play a lot of roles that probably were not community theater or college theater. I would not have been allowed to play, but I did get to play a lot of really great roles, and always the lead.
Yes.
Always the ingenue.
Well, didn't you tell me that you practice all roles?
Well, actually what happened was at Brazosport Music Theater, straight out of the 6th grade, I auditioned for the play Oliver and was cast as one of the workhouse boys. Well, I just assumed I was just one of the little skinny, starving gang, even though I was about 50 pounds overweight. And but at night I would go home and I would sing every role in the show, all the roles, Oliver and of course Nancy and Bet, and but all of the roles, and pretty much remained. I can remember doing Oklahoma at Brazos Wood High School, and actually no, I was an usher. I did not make it.
Oh
that year.
No.
Yes, they did not see my talent.
They did not.
No, they did not see me as 8-0 Annie. So, but I got even with them years later, and in a theatrical production just recently, sang one of the songs. I'm just a girl who can't say no. So it's never.
That's your theme song.
It's never too late. Yeah, my theme song, Can't Say No.
Okay, so obviously that's where you developed your passion for theater, high school, and then in junior college. And then after junior college, there's not really much else to do in that area.
Get the hell out of town.
You gotta go somewhere. And
That's
so
it.
you picked Houston.
I did. I picked Houston because I could walk there. And no, I just, I think I'm a lot of people from smaller towns. They think about the closest big city, and that was Houston. And also I knew there was a strong theatrical world, and I came to be part of that and was fortunate very early on to be cast with Theater Under the Stars in Fiddler on the Roof out at Miller Outdoor Theater.
Right, but before that, didn't you have a job in Lake Jackson that you transferred with to Houston?
Bonanza Sirloin Pit. You're bringing up all the really biggies, David. Yes.
And what was your position at the sirloin pit?
Well, the first day I washed potatoes.
Okay.
The second day I made salads. The third day I was moved to the fryer, and by the fourth day I was on the broiler, which is, the spot to be.
Oh, you're on your way to VP.
I'm telling you, I could have owned the place in a month. But I transferred up, at least had a job, came with the job, didn't pay much, but it was a job. And
so when you moved to Houston, you got transferred to...
I transferred to the Bonanza Sirloin Pit on Kirby, which was later a bookstore, and now is Carrabba's.
Oh,
Progress.
Really? Okay, yes.
I've been in all of them. Yes, it's like a library, except fewer books.
Yes. So you... that's when you started working in Houston, and then you started doing theater, like you said.
I was involved in the theater for many, many years, and I was telling about Fiddler on the Roof because it was July, my first July in Houston, and we were in the winter in Russia, leaving Anatevka in our winter clothing.
July.
It was torture.
Yes.
Truly suffering for your art.
Yes, for sure.
Now I understand they have jets of air conditioning that shoot up.
Oh,
the
they
stage.
do. Oh, well,
really.
that's good.
How lovely.
Now.
Right.
Okay, so then you started doing more performances, right? And at the same time, you moved out of the Bonanza Pit.
Yes. I did. I moved out of the Bonanza Sirloin Pit because someone offered me twice the money I was making, $10 a week, to come be a short order cook at a restaurant that would later become a bar of the bars that I worked for.
Aha.
So 30 years later, I worked in the same building, but it was then a bar.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting.
How long did you work there as a cook?
A short order cook, 6 months.
Okay.
But only because after 6 months, they shut the doors.
Oh.
Because they had this little policy where, as an employee, you could come in and eat and drink all you wanted and just sign a tab. Well, they never took it out of any of our checks. And we got wise pretty quickly. I was having some grand parties.
Oh, Lord.
And so anyway, it closed the doors down.
Oh, gosh. Is that when it turned into a bar?
Yeah, I think pretty soon after.
To the mining company,
the
I guess?
Montrose Mining Company.
Yes.
Part of Charles Armstrong Investments that I later worked for as promotions and marketing for 20 years.
Really?
They could not get rid of me once they brought me on board. But oddly enough, I didn't come on board as marketing. I came on board as an entertainer. I had a Monday night talent contest where I dashed the dreams of many a talented hopeful.
I was a judge panel of one.
I was a little mean. They used to say a combination of Don Rickles and Joan Rivers, but I wasn't nearly that nice. I'm the one who came up with the idea about marketing and promotions, and the owner at the time said, "Oh, I'll give it 90 days and we'll see."
Right.
And I was there for 20 years.
Wow. Well, so how did your parents feel about you going into the drama theater, bypassing a 4-year degree? How did they react?
They never assumed I'd be educated. So it was a win-win. And I guess the odd thing is, if there was an odd thing about being odd, is that I was always theatrical. My mother tells a story of when I was about 4 years old, following behind a little girl in a laundromat. She had a snotty nose, runny nose, and I was singing Babyface to her. And I was just always the clown, the entertainer, and no one else in my family was. No one else in my family would even think of getting on a stage and doing anything like that. So,
well, your mother, ironically, became a source of quite a number of funny stories to tell.
She was a comedian in her own right.
She didn't realize it, though.
Oh, well, for many years I thought that, and then later on I started to realize it was sometimes very calculated. And other times she just had a sense of humor, and not everyone found it humorous, but I can remember one time we're driving in the car, and she says to me, "I'll tell you something about your sister, but it'd make you mad."
What do you do with that?
You leave it alone. You go to lunch. I mean,
well, one of my favorite stories, please tell it, is when she got that book on.
Oh dear. Yes, she called me one day and she said, "Well, now I bought a book on ailments from A to Z, and I started in the A's and I got to the AIDS, and I thought to myself, now could I have gotten the AIDS?" So I called up the doctor. And I said, "Doctor, do you think I could have gotten the AIDS?" And he said, "Well, Mrs. Jobe, have you been having unprotected sex or intravenous drug use?" And she said, "Well, hell no." And he said, "Then I don't think you've contracted AIDS."
You're right.
And she said, "But I kept on reading, and now I know what's wrong with your sister." So, a natural comedian or just, who knows? Who knows?
Well, I think that you say she thought she knew, but I don't think she knew.
Maybe not.
Because my mother gives me a lot of material too. And I every time she says something crazy, I just say, "That's going in the book."
Yeah, right. So blame your mother. She give you that hair color? Just curious.
Right.
But I did realize, I guess it was probably even after my mother had passed away, that so much of my sense of humor really did come from her and from my father, who was the straight man. Whether he realized it or not, he was the one you could really, I would make him laugh during times when he wanted to be the angriest.
Oh, really?
And I would get out of so much trouble that way.
Seriously.
Because he would be really angry with me, and the punishment was coming next, and I could make him laugh. And
yeah.
And but.
Well, besides the outdoor Miller Theater, you also did some of the other where you eat and there's have a show.
Yes, I did eat. Consequently, 275 pounds later. I did some dinner theater.
Yes.
Again with Tuts at the Shamrock Hilton, which is long gone.
And I want to talk about that because I actually saw you in a couple of performances. But we've got to go to a commercial break. And before we do, I want to remind people that you can tweet your questions at DavidL2490. And we'll be back with the hysterical Randall Jobe right after these messages.
The Fort Bend Playbook is live this summer for an hour and a half every Thursday from 4 to 5:30 p.m.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think Coach Fleming has different expectations. Therefore, you got to look good, you play good, you feel good.
I've seen Cody Cunningham's tape from this spring. He seems to have more confidence inside the pocket.
Join Aston Jean Lewis and M.A. Pate as they continue their coverage of Fort Bend ISD athletics, only on KBRZsports.com.
Do you trust your insurance agent? Hi, my name is David Lorms. Anyone can sell you insurance, but I have the unique perspective and experience of being a former claims professional. It's when you need to use your insurance that you really depend on a seasoned professional where customer satisfaction is number one. I can be reached at 713-688-8669, and all calls are rolled to my personal cell phone after hours. You can also visit lormsinsuranceservices.com. Hey, I have to sleep at night, so I need to make sure you're covered.
This is David Altenburn of Altenburn & Associates, a litigation-based law firm here in Houston that handles personal injury, divorce, business law consulting and litigation, and criminal law matters. We work hard for the justice our clients deserve, earning client trust and opponent respect one case at a time. I'm honored to have been selected top lawyers for the people, top lawyers, and ask the expert in personal injury for the Lawyers of Houston directory. Call us today, 713-961-8012. Website, attorneyaltenburn.com.
KBRZ Sports Radio strives to bring our listeners the most up-to-date, comprehensive high school varsity sports coverage available in the Fort Bend County area. We're committed to providing the latest news and information on standings, statistics, schedules, team and school information, as well as community-focused programs. Our programs allow our advertisers the opportunity to share information about their products and services with our audience. Advertisers can target their ideal customers, build brand awareness and customer loyalty, grow their businesses, and partner with a company that is rooted and committed to the Fort Bend County community. For advertising information, call Russ Johns at 206-930-7440 or log on to www.kbrzsports.com. As a parent, do you worry each and every time your young athlete takes to the playing field about what it would be like if an incident occurred during play resulting in a head injury? Not playing is not an option. Here at KBRZ Sports Radio, we share in your concerns and efforts to keep our young athletes safe and healthy. They are our future, and we must do our jobs as parents, coaches, and a radio station to promote keeping that future safe by offering a tried and true solution: functional cognitive baseline testing. We all have various abilities in cognition or brain function. Without a baseline, there is no way to truly indicate a problem caused by a concussion or head trauma. Let's face it, with all our sports heroes now coming forward with issues from head injuries suffered from the game, this is a risk none of us can afford. Check out temr.net for more information. That's temr.net.
And we're back with the infamous Randall Jobe. And we were learning earlier more about his experience in the theater. And you did a lot of dinner theater, which I saw you perform at.
I did. I did quite a bit of dinner theater and a lot of murder mystery theater that took place in restaurants. So, but we did a lot. I did work for the Great Caruso,
yes,
which was very popular for many, many years. And mostly as people knew it as a singing venue, but then they started to do plays, and I did several out there. Great, great fun. The murder mysteries I had a great time with because I played lots of different characters. And from my days in cabaret theater, where they decided they wanted to put me in dresses most of the time to create characters, I carried a lot of that into the murder mystery, and I would begin the evening as a woman and then would be murdered and would come back as the male detective. And then we found out that format didn't work so well because the men in the audience had made such fools of themselves with me dressed in drag that then they were embarrassed when I came back as a man. So we started reversing those roles. But it came from a really crazy place because I went into a theater with a group called Risky Business Cabaret, and it was just different little skits and things like that. And one night after a performance, I was talking like Carol Channing for whatever reason,
right.
You know, and the music director said, "Why isn't that in the show?" So that started it, and from then on, I played everyone from Carol Channing and Marlene Dietrich and Joan Crawford. Another funny mother story. She said, I told her I was going to be playing Joan Crawford in a play, and she said, my father came to see it, and afterwards she said, "Well, now, when you first told me that you were going to be playing Joan Crawford, I thought to myself, now, how is he going to be Joan Crawford?" And those doors opened and you came through, and I said, "Now that's Joan Crawford." So anyway, and then at another time, I was doing Marlene Dietrich, and she had kind of a nasty little song to sing, and stockings and garters and pretty outrageous. And that night, people said in the cast were like, so what are you going to do with your parents in the audience? And I said, I'm going to do the same thing I always do. And it was one of my father's favorite characters. He would tell me years later.
Well, when I saw you perform in female characters, I never really saw you as a female. To me, you always represented like a Harvey Korman, who in the Carol Burnett show.
I used to say it's like the emperor's new clothes. Yes. I kept waiting for someone to stand up and say, wait a minute. Yes. Because you're right. I didn't.
You have a heavy beard, and
but great legs, and that can carry you a long way when you're doing a drag character. I'm just saying.
Well, and from your experiences playing those characters, you often got hired outside of the theater to play parts. Tell me about that story about the River Oaks ladies who hired you to be
there was a group of socialites who many of you'd know their names to this day, who would do a big Valentine's party every year, and they got the idea that they would hire a man in drag to come and play a real person that many of them knew from Miami, who was the heiress from the Imperial Sugarcane Company, and they called her the Sugar Princess. And so they sent me to, at that time, a top hair salon to have my hair done, to Tootsie's to pick out a $3,500 dress.
Oh, my gosh.
A friend of mine had a Jaguar that I arrived at the restaurant in, leaned back as far as I could because the hair was piled so high on my hair I couldn't drive. The valet boys loved it. Yes. So I stepped out and went in and did this impersonation of this person I'd never known, but they gave me information about people she really knew back in Miami. And I spoke with what I thought was a Cuban accent, but who knows what it really was. But the women either were blind to it or simply played along. But we had a great, great evening. They had male dancers serving the cocktails, and then each of them would get up and sing a little song. This was part of their little bit. And so I would say there were 25 or so of us all seated around this huge, huge table and drinking pink ladies and having pink desserts and the whole thing. And one of them got up, and as she sang her song, I turned to the woman next to me and I said, "Do you think she was ever a man?" And it went around the room like Red Robin until the whole room was falling out laughing at this woman doing her poor song. But anyway, just one of the many times. Another favorite drag character was I played Nympha Lorenzo. And again, little bit bawdy songs about how would you like to spend a night in Nympha's kitchen with dancing tortas and tacos. Yes. And 12 huge oversized plastic bananas.
Oh, Lord.
And so anyway, Nympha actually came and brought about 20 of her cousins to the show. And
20.
She was it was the whole audience. Yes. Let me just put it out there. But she brought about 20, and they were all sitting in the front, and she was the first one on her feet whenever I started signing tortillas and throwing them to the audience. And later she came.
You signed tortillas?
I signed tortillas and threw them at the crowd. And we had no shame in those days, none whatsoever.
But that's hysterical.
And she loved it. And she signed one for me at the end of the show, came up on stage and signed a tortilla
that is
for
great.
me.
So from any of these performances, were you ever approached by an agent to do anything like commercials or anything else? I've always thought you've done very well in the productions I've seen you in.
Well, I don't know if I really pursued that so much. I do remember being sent to an audition for a Weingarten commercial, if you remember Weingarten.
Yes.
Grocery stores from way back when, at this very professional thing. And I had never been to an audition. I had no idea what to expect. So we were seated in this huge room, and there were screens all around us, and they were showing cartoon characters of what the commercial would be like.
Yeah.
With us as the real people.
Yeah.
Well, there was a little pigtail girl, and I said, well, that's me. I'm going to play that one. So then they sent us all into this room with real people, and I realized they had been videoing us and watching us in this process, and so they did comment that I would not be playing the little pigtail girl, but I would be playing the butcher.
Ah.
And so I was cast as the butcher in this commercial, and got back to my job that I was working at the time and was telling everyone about it and got a phone call, and somehow in the process, in the hour I'd been gone away, they had cast someone else in it. So
rude.
Yeah, really. Absolutely. But
well, while you were doing all this, you were also keeping a day job, right? You were working in the bars.
Always. I was doing marketing and promotion, working a full-time job, and mostly during that time had an evening gig, late evening gig of either like the talent show I talked about. I also emceed strip shows. Okay. Some of my favorite work, and hosted karaoke for about 10 years.
Yes.
And what a nightmare.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me why is that?
Well, everyone thinks they can sing.
Yes.
And I unfortunately was that person that on occasion would stop the music, stop everything, and have the DJ put on Do Re Mi to teach them to maybe. I was not the most popular karaoke host with the singers. The audience loved me, but the singers, not so much.
Yes. Well, I'm sure through all the years that you worked in promotions and tended bar and things like that, you have a few stories to tell about that.
Oh, yes. Most of them I can't tell, but one that I will tell, because it's just a whole thing about the bar and how strange the bar could be. I was bartending one night and I saw these two guys meet, and I thought, oh, that's nice. They're starting to talk and socialize and all that. And I said, maybe we'll get a big hookup here, and I can tell people that you can come to my bar and hook up. Yeah. But yeah, ask your
Cupid's
parents.
Bar.
Ask your parents what hookup is. Yeah. And I suddenly heard one of them say, the only thing I can remember about my childhood is being so hungry that I ate the dog's food. And I thought, okay, now that's a deal breaker.
Yes, it is.
Until a minute or so later, the other one said, I can remember, it was like walking into a big white light, and I heard a voice calling me back. I thought, perfect. Perfect for one another. Yes.
One another. Okay, so on the opposite side, while you were doing theater, do you have any snafus that you can remember that happened that were particularly funny?
Oh, yes. One of the craziest ones was that many times when I would play drag characters, I would run off stage and change and come back as a male character.
Right.
And I was doing a character named Lollipop Lopez and would run off stage and get dressed and come back and do the song from Grease, the big, I can't remember the title of it now, but it's the big butch number.
Yeah.
And in tight jeans and a leather jacket. And no, actually, it was the reverse. So here I am doing the big butch character in jeans and all that, and do this knee slide, and the audience is screaming and carrying on and all that, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm doing great. And I run back, and as I'm changing for Lollipop Lopez, someone says, by the way, your pants were unzipped the whole time, and they could see your pantyhose. Woo, showbiz.
Yeah. Right? Well, you were telling me earlier that throughout all of this, you kind of had a philosophy or a mantra that you kind of came up with from all of your experience in the theater. And really, what is that?
Well, I think, in the theater and also in the marketing and promotions, and that's that I always said you always have to be laying the foundation. You never know when the networking or something that you're doing now is going to come to fruition later. If you're impatient, then that's a bad thing, I think. But I know there were so many times when, just like you said, somebody would see me doing some job and offer something else to me. I went to work for the bars because the owner had seen me as I was emceeing a amateur jockey shorts contest that, by the way, I was fired from after 5 weeks because they said I was just too outrageous. But that's because there was alcohol involved, and you can't blame me on that one.
Not if they're going to provide it.
That's right.
Well, I think that's pretty powerful. Always be laying the foundation.
Right.
Because you just never know.
You've got to do the work.
Very powerful. Always got to do the work. Okay. Well, be sure to tweet your questions at DavidL2490. We'll have more with Randall Jobe after these messages.
Performance Pilates and GTC Gym and Training Center in Greatwood are your answer to getting spring break swimsuit ready. We offer private and small group personal training and Pilates classes. GTC now with 24-hour access. Call 281-224-0013. More information at greatwoodtrainingcenter.com or performance-pilates.com.
KBRZSports.com is your home for Fort Bend ISD varsity sports, all Sugarland Scooters away games, Fort Bend Playbook, Fort Bend Spotlight, Coach's Corner with Fort Bend ISD Athletic Director Philip O'Neill, Fort Bend Food Rampage, and Skeeter Nation. Check back often at KBRZSports.com for the latest scheduled events, activities, and outings in the Fort Bend community. KBRZ Sports, kids, communities, and commerce.
Just because it's summertime doesn't mean KBRZ Sports is off the air. This summer is jam-packed with broadcasts of all Sugarland Skeeter away games and your favorite shows, including the Fort Bend Playbook, Food Rampage, Fort Bend Spotlight, and the newest show, Make It Happen with David Lorms. So click your browser on your PC or smartphone on over to KBRZSports.com. KBRZ Sports, kids, community, commerce.
Hope you don't hear that sound at the 5th Annual Great Grown Up Spelling Bee on Thursday, September 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the University of Houston Sugarland. Support the Literacy Council of Fort Bend County by being a spectator bee. The cost is $45 at the door. Sponsorship and underwriting opportunities are available and range from $75 to $5,000. For more information, visit www.grownupbee.com or contact Christina Guerra at 281-240-8181. Your support can change a life.
Time and money. The two things an entrepreneurial startup or a business owner of a small to mid-sized business always need more of. iCoach Business Pros, a partnered affiliate with Growth Coaching Systems Network, has answers and solutions to better utilize time and not waste money. Excellence has no limits, and neither should you. Contact iCoach today at 713-345-0223 or visit the owner online at briankaiser.me. Contact iCoach today at 713-345-0223 or visit the owner online at briankaiser.me.
Texas Community Referral Network is all about the community. Have access to the best businesses on our local websites and numerous money-saving offers on our free mobile app. Go to tcrnhouston.com to find your community website and visit your mobile app store to install the free TCRN app and start saving today. TCRN, connecting you with the community.
And we're back with the infamous Randall Jobe, and we were talking about your experiences in your career with the bars and doing theater at night. So you were working all day.
Well, I called it that. They didn't always, but it was a job. Yeah.
And then you've always had 2 or 3 jobs, right?
I always seem to have several things going at once. Yeah.
And so keeping such a busy schedule, but there was a time when you were kind of knocked off your feet, literally.
Right.
When you went to have, I guess, a pedicure or something?
Yeah, I had a bad pedicure, at least that's what I thought it was, and ended up with a bad infection in my toe, and at that time discovered that I had diabetes, is reason it wasn't healing well, and they wanted to chop it off.
Oh my gosh.
So they came in to consult with me, and the doctor said, well, of the 5 doctors, 3 of them think we should just be done with it and cut off your big toe. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, I'm a dancer. And he said, oh, I don't think you're a dancer. I said, well, then I'm a runner. He said, well, I don't really see you as a runner either. And I said, well, I don't give a damn what you think. I'd like to keep my toe. Yes. And so consequently, I was able to keep it. And a couple of months later, he said, well, I guess you were right. And I said, well, I guess I was. Yes. So, but anyway, it did start me on a course of dealing with my diabetes, not always well. And so 10 or so more years would pass, and I would have a bout with it that involved a bad infection again. And
with your toe?
No, this time it was on my, where was it? On my back. I had a place on my back that just got increasingly worse, and then got that taken care of, and then recently, about last December, was very, very ill. Thought I had the flu for quite a while, and finally, when I was forced to go to the emergency room by my dear, sweet older sister, who really has nursed me through too many of these, got me to the emergency room and discovered that I had actually had kidney failure.
Oh my gosh!
And so they
Thank
thought
God. Your sister Linda, right?
My sister Linda, my dear big sister, 5 years older, who has always been the caretaker for the entire family.
Yes.
Took care of my mother when she was ill, and my father, and me during my bouts, and just an incredible woman who loves me dearly and puts up with so much crap.
She is very, very sweet. But when you had, sorry to interrupt you, but when you were with the pedicure incident, that was right around the time in the news that they came out about, you make sure that all the instruments are, disinfected and all that kind of stuff.
Right, and I saw it firsthand and first foot. But and it was many years before I ever had a manicure or a pedicure, and then I went to a place where they had your own equipment and they sterilized it there in front of you and things like that. So yeah.
But what a scary thing.
Yeah, it was pretty frightening. And I guess through the illnesses that I've had, and even with the kidney failure, there has been, I'm sure like anybody would have, there have been those bouts of being extremely frightened, extremely depressed by it. But I also, this time with the kidney failure, it just so happened that they had told me when I was in the hospital that maybe we'll give you a few dialysis treatments and it might jumpstart your kidneys. So
right.
I took that as the big hope, and
right.
and all. And then a few days passed and they came in, and I was by myself at that moment, and where I'd been surrounded by friends and family until that moment. They just chose that moment, I guess, to come in to tell me that I would be on dialysis, that I would have to go on a dialysis.
You do that 3 times a week?
3 times a week for 4 hours, and it would be ongoing unless I could get a kidney transplant or whatever. And, I laid there in the bed, and I was depressed about it and had a few tears, and then started plotting my course of action, which would be to work around those 3 days at 4 hours a day, 3 times a week. And at that time, I had 2 jobs. I was still working for another bar, F Bar, which I worked for about 4 years, doing special events and public relations, and was doing that, and working for the Montrose Star as business development manager. And
who's the editor there?
Laura Villagran.
Love her.
Incredible person who really has been instrumental in guiding me through this series of an illness where I couldn't give her all the hours that I was giving her before, but she kept up with me. And so then it came to a point where I realized, unlike so many years of working multiple jobs, I wasn't going to be able to continue doing it, that I made a decision to leave the bar business. There was applause all around, I'm sure, from the gay community. Get her out of here, and to work strictly for the paper. And it's a decision that I am very happy with, just recently made, and made my exit out graciously, I hope. I don't think they've realized yet how much work I did, but they soon will.
Yes.
And then the bad remarks will start.
Well, one of the things that I really admire about you, and there's several, but one of them is that each of these experiences of illnesses or hospitalizations, whatever, you just bounced right back. You just didn't let it knock you down and stay there. You came back, because if you're not working, you're not making any money.
Well, that's the biggest one. Yeah, I like to eat, so you got to work to do that. But another is that I have a really strong base, again, with my older sister and even my younger sister, and a bevy of friends that I have made over the years who really rallied in all instances. I mean, I never wanted for a hospital visit or someone to give me a ride if I needed it to the doctor or anything like that. In fact, there were generally multiples. I would have to pick and choose, so that
you're lucky.
Everyone would get their turn, and that's something they told me at the dialysis center. They said, we don't see that a lot,
right?
Where you have that number of people who are looking out for you. So I think that's a lot of it, is that. And again, I'm going back to our dear friend Sally that we talked about. She's someone who During the initial time when I was needing help with my toe, I was having to get around on a walker, and it was tough. I couldn't drive anywhere, and I was having difficulty asking anyone for help. And she gave me a very good piece of advice that I remember still, and that's that she said, all these years you have given to other people, and now it's your turn to ask for a little something, and no one's going to mind.
No,
and
that's right.
So that's what's helped me get through.
Well, you paid it forward.
There you go. And maybe a little bit of a sense of humor now and then.
Everyone loves to hear one of your mother stories.
Right. Well, and even though everyone doesn't see my sense of humor the way I see it, while I was in the hospital this last time, there was a certain nurse who I wish I knew her name because I'd call her out right now. And I will just refer to her as that bitch. I needed help to use the bathroom and had to get on a bedpan. Well, they'd left me laying in this bed for about 3 weeks, and I couldn't move my legs. So I would wait days every time I needed to go to the restroom because it was such an ordeal of two people getting me onto this bedpan.
Oh, Lord.
So I rang the bell, and she came in, and I said, I've got to use the restroom, and it requires two people to get me on this bedpan. And she decided she'd try it herself. So she's pushing and shoving and trying to drag this thing under me. And I say to her, it's not going to work this way. And she's told me, well, then you'll just have to wait. And so I looked at her with what my friends refer to as the look and said, I'm going to say this one time. In every other instance, it's taken two people to get me on that bedpan, and you're going to get someone to help you now. She was back in about 30 seconds with some help. So anyway, it gave me a great story to tell, and I found it humorous.
Well, you've seemed to manage to keep your sense of humor all through this. I mean, even with the hospital stays, you're not working. And I don't know if you had health insurance or not. And, so you're looking at financial situations, your health, but you've stayed funny, and you've had a lot of the community help you, support you in ways with. Tell us about that.
Well, way back during the first time that I had a long hospital stay, the clubs that I worked for threw a big benefit for me, and I want to say raised about $8,000.
That's incredible.
Which went a long way to paying off the $150,000 bill.
Yes.
And so when this second time happened, both the bar and the newspaper and the theater I was working for, Celebration Theater, Ron Jones, artistic director, they all got together and wanted to give me a benefit, and I really resisted. I said, I just don't think I want to ask people for money, But then in the middle of the night, I came up with this idea to call it, Are You Kidneying Me? Another benefit for Randall Jobe. Yeah. And once I realized, okay, that might work, and it did. And so we had a lovely night of entertainment and food and art and raised some good money to help pay off bills yet again. But now I'm very fortunate. I have insurance, and I'm in good shape. Yeah.
So you've kind of kidded here about, people being happy that you're gone or whatever. I mean, it's clear to see why people love you. You're hysterical, and you're fun to be around. But why do you think there's that, Randall Jobe, you either love him or hate him? Why do you think that is?
Well, I started that rumor that they loved me at all. In fact, I have a dear, dear friend to this day who one time gave me something that I haven't forgotten and I live by, and that's that one time I had made a comment about someone who was doing the same sort of thing I was doing at the time, which was emceeing a show. And we were there, and I said, oh, my God, I just hate him. And my friend turned to me and said, remember, for everyone who hates him, there's one who hates you. And so I remember that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you can have a good fan base, but there probably is also, the camp that doesn't care for you. And
well, I think it's totally because of your sense of humor. I mean, it's put down. It's some of the things that you do that are funny, and people just take it too personal.
Well, get over it.
Seriously.
Really. Well, yeah, my sense of humor, and I'm a looker, which something you wouldn't understand. But teasing.
Yes, I know. Well, I just love the fact that you have gone through so much, that you have managed to keep your sense of humor, and that you live by the motto, laying the foundation. And we're going to open up to questions in the next segment, so be sure to tweet your questions at DavidL2490, and we'll be back with Randall Jobe after these messages.
Tired of going to the same restaurants every week? Want to know what new eateries have opened up recently? Tune in to the Food Rampage as Dominique and Priya dish about their favorite restaurants. Catch us live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on KBRZSports.com and iHeartRadio for the live show. Be sure and follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at Food Monsters. Join us as we rampage through the Houston area.
Some of our most successful insurance agents in the Houston area are in the multicultural market. In fact, over 40% of our market here is Hispanic or Asian, with both growing rapidly. There has never been a better time for bilingual individuals to join our team of business owners here at Farmers Insurance District 30. Contact us at 281-596-9730 or at www.farmersdistrict30.com and come join a winning team.
Do you trust your insurance agent? Hi, my name is David Lorms. Anyone can sell you insurance, but I have the unique perspective and experience of being a former claims professional. It's when you need to use your insurance that you really depend on a seasoned professional where customer satisfaction is number one. I can be reached at 713-688-8669, and all calls are rolled to my personal cell phone after hours. You can also visit lormsinsuranceservices.com. Hey, I have to sleep at night, so I need to make sure you're covered.
Looking for a way to be involved in Fort Bend ISD varsity sports? Want to sponsor a team, game, or hear your child's name mentioned during a Fort Bend ISD varsity game? KBRZ Sports can broadcast your business or personal message for a reasonable price. Contact our sales department at www.kbrzsports.com for more information on how you can be part of Fort Bend ISD Sports. KBRZ Sports, connecting Fort Bend County business owners, families, and Fort Bend ISD varsity sports. With all the hype and true doctor reports on concussions and head trauma caused by athletics, are you burdened by having to decipher what it all means to find a solution to best protect your child? Cognitive baseline testing, a procedure that takes about 30 minutes, gives a baseline of cognition function, response, memory, and motor functionality of your child. The results are given to you and your primary care physician, and in the event of a head trauma of any kind, the test procedure can be applied again with the results of the baseline to compare it to. This is the only way you can have a true indication if damage of any kind has occurred. The days of how many fingers am I holding up is not good enough. Certainly doesn't give me as a parent the comfort and security I need to worry less while my kiddo is growing into the champion of their dreams.
And we're back with Randall Jobe. And we've just learned a whole lot about you during the show, how you got into theater, how you came to Houston, you suffered some illnesses but maintained your great sense of humor, and all of your theater, the passion for the theater. We have a question here that from one of the listeners that asks, do you have any plans to do more theater?
Well, I would love to. The thing is, I've gotten a little bit lazy. And the older I get, the harder it is to memorize a lot of lines. But if anyone has a cameo of any sort they'd like for me to come do for them, or, in fact, the last role I did do was with Razzsport concert musicals, and it was just a little bitty a character role, not a lot of lines, and one of those scene stealers that I really enjoyed doing. And then also, I'm hoping to work with Celebration Theater some more. We mentioned it before. Artistic director Ron Jones started a theater that really touches on a lot of the GLBT issues and other things. And so I recently did a series called The Marriage Plays with him, and it was perfect because you got to have your script in front of you. And that was one of the...
That's easy then.
Yeah. That or a teleprompter. We're getting old, folks. And yeah.
Well, the stuff that I've seen you in is right up there with Kathy Griffin, comedians like Joan Rivers, people like that. I know. I mean, I'm serious.
Really?
So
enough about me. What do you think about me? Stolen from Bette Midler, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so another question we have from a listener is, you mentioned that you were leaving the bar, so what's next for you?
Well, my work with the Montrose Star as business development manager is, to me, opening a whole new door of...
That's a newspaper.
In the Montrose community. Give it a real plug, about 5,000 distribution and 250 locations.
Yes.
Get your ad in now. Yeah, it's going to allow me to be creative to help build that business. And also I'm going to be doing writing, which is something that I've done a little bit of here and there theatrically, writing some crazy musicals and things like that. But this is a whole new ball game for me because I've always thought I wanted to write, and now I've been given a series. I'm going to do a series of stories, aptly titled "This Old Queen."
Is it a biography?
It's about David Lorms, and it's going to be stories of the Montrose. For the last 3+ decades I've spent in the Montrose area. And
so based on your experiences?
My experiences, it's going to be as true as I can remember. And so then after that series, we've got something else planned that I'll keep a secret for now, but that might involve the years I spent working in the clubs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I bet that's juicy.
Yeah, well, let's just say I have to wait till all the bar owners are dead, and then I'll be able to
change the names.
Tell that story. That's right, really. Or call them by their nicknames.
Yeah.
There we go. That'll work.
Well, so this is in the Montrose Star. Now, when does this series start?
It starts the mid-August.
So all you listeners have to be sure to get these,
Right.
get your copy, because I can guarantee these stories are going to be hysterical. If this is just nothing compared to what you're going to be writing about, I'm sure.
Well, we
today.
hope so.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was one other question you didn't touch on.
What was that?
Who do you get your insurance from? David Lorms. Please check him out. Farmers Insurance. That'll be $20.
Stop. No, so I think that's great. I can't wait to start reading some of that.
Well, thank you. I'm hoping it'll have a little following. I hope we can get people on board. And I remember, 1,000 years ago reading Tales of the City, which was Maupin, who wrote all of his experiences in San Francisco. And so maybe we'll have our own little Tales of the City.
So a book, maybe.
Yeah, well, I would love that. You want to publish it?
Sure.
Yeah, you can. Just come up with the cash. It's done.
I think you would write a hysterical book.
Well, I thought to myself, too, also being a little bit lazy, that it would be best to try to write it in short spurts and then combine it all together.
Hence the series.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when do you officially start working for the Montrose Star?
I have already started.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't waste any time. Actually, I was working with them before I got ill, and have just really kind of come back. They didn't touch my office. They kept it like a shrine, a dusty shrine.
A dusty shrine.
But I'm back and working hard and loving it.
Do you assist with any ad sales there too?
A little bit. What has happened for me is that through my networking of people to bring different features and things like that to the paper, sometimes it has led to some ad sales. Yeah, because I'm always there. I'm always I'm like you, David. I'm always marketing. I'm always pitching the next thing. So absolutely.
Well, so that said, you told me you just finally joined Facebook, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just joined.
Yes.
3.5 years ago, David. If you'd post more on it, you'd know. But yes, it was pretty recent. But I'm on there, and so I'll keep people posted as to what's going on, and you can private message me if you're interested in a date.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you were just telling me you're single.
Right? Surprise.
No, every time I meet you, there's some
Oh,
story.
no, be careful. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, yes, I am single. Single and looking. And paying, generally.
That's Randall Jobe.
Yeah.
Facebook, Jobe.
Dinner and a movie, it's on me.
So besides that, now your mother has passed, right?
She has.
And which I'm sorry to hear about that, but you still spend a lot of time with your sister Linda.
Absolutely.
And so any plans for you to do anything, travel or any projects?
Well,
or
if she doesn't put a pillow over my head anytime soon, then I think we'll continue on with our great We have a great relationship as brother and sister, and we're great friends.
She's a big supporter of yours.
She is. She's probably the biggest. And she's great to me and great for me.
Now, are you out of your siblings? Are you the only one that has a sense of humor like you do?
No, I think we really all have in our own rights. My younger sister, who still lives in Lake Jackson, by the way, wow. Joy, is great fun and laughs loud and is almost the opposite of both my sister and I, and very entertaining in her own right.
And so it's just Joy and Linda.
Right.
But you're the only performer.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that happened, but it happened, like I say, early on. I can remember doing the death scene from Cleopatra for my family and all of their friends when I was about 10 years old, using a pot for the basket that the asp was in. So, pretty much always the entertainer.
And it sounds like your parents always encouraged you rather than try to hide it. Or
what were they going to do at that point? Give me back, really? No, they had to keep me. Yes, but no, they did become big supporters when they realized. I think one of the best compliments I ever had was I overheard a conversation with my father one time at Thanksgiving, telling people that, the one thing about Randy is that he moved off and he's been on his own and he's never asked us for anything.
Wow.
And so
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, there were some slim years. Well, not slim, but years when I wasn't eating as well as I would have liked to. Let's just say that. Lots of top ramen noodles. And in fact, in the stories I'm going to recount, I was thinking about, got to tell about the tough times or how
yes.
There would be no great times. And I can remember truly taking $10 to the grocery store and buying 2 weeks worth of food.
Oh my gosh.
Top ramen noodles and macaroni and cheese and all those starches that have made us what we are today.
Yes. Well, you're pretty slender now.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd notice over the radio.
Yes.
David too, by the way, folks.
Yes. Very slender.
Yeah. Not as slender as me.
No, not as. Of course
but
not.
Slender. But watch for those photos posted on Facebook
They're
of David.
Old. They're old. Yes, I need to update them.
That's it. Time for a new headshot.
So, where do you see you going with or handling your dialysis with your new projects?
Well, I've worked out the schedule already. I mean, I make it happen. I work full days Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I work from home some before my dialysis treatments, and then I sit in the dialysis chair with my notebook and pen and map out the next ideas.
You handwrite?
Yeah, I do everything longhand, and then I put it on the computer. Yes, folks, I own one, and it's a miracle. It's a wonderful thing. And the one thing we didn't talk on is I also am an artist.
Yes,
I spent a couple of years with a local art gallery here and doing different shows. I have a couple of restaurants and a theater that handles my art, and so I'm going to hope I have some time for that as well.
Well, where are some places that people can see some of your art?
Well, the Music Box Theater over on Kirby has a lobby display of much of my stuff, and until recently, Java Restaurant there in the Heights, but they've just repainted finally, and so I'm hoping to put my art back up in there.
They're good people at Java, though.
Great guys, great guys. Support them.
Yes,
to stay off that salad bar. I'm just teasing.
Have a salad bar. You crazy person.
No, it's all good food.
It is really good. Well, but you also were good friends with a very well-known painter now in the city. You were telling me about
who's that?
John Palmer.
Oh yes, my dear friend. Yes, John Ross Palmer.
Ross Palmer,
who has an incredible career, a beautiful gallery there in the Heights, and first started about 12 years ago, I guess. And had one of the first shows in JR's that I was working for at the time. I put together the show and got him kicked off, and he's done terrific and is still a great friend to this day.
Well, he does tremendous work. I mean, and it's not as cheap as it used to be either.
Oh, really?
So for those people that got in early, are going to make some money.
Mercedes van he drives. Have you? But yeah, he's a great guy and a great artist and a dear friend.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today. You have shared a lot of funny stories and some inspiring messages, laying the foundation because you never know, and giving people hope that if they have an illness or whatever, they can maybe think about how you've managed to get through it and keep your sense of humor. So I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing that with us today.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Are we having lunch?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
I also want to remind our listeners to tune in next week at noon to hear our guest, Justin Gordon of Justin Gordon Homes, and we will be asking him some good questions then. So until then, just don't sit there. Make it happen.
I see that you're so lonely. You're wearing shades of blue. You're holding strange perspective in your eyes. You've given up on silly dreams, but you're brave.